after you, but in reality, sometimes stuff happens with the signal from the studio to the tower, which sends our programming to your car, home, office, or your transistor radio. But when you download the KBLA 1580 app, the sound is clear as a bell, all day, all night, anywhere in the world, from Los Angeles to Lagos. So, we love all of our listeners, no matter how you hear us. But when you download the KBLA 1580 app and hear that richness, you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner. But don't take my word for it. Download the KBLA 1580 app right now. I'm Tavis Smiley, and I approve this message.
This is the Tavis Smiley program. My name is Mark Riley, and I guess I'm going to expose something of my past. When I was a much younger man than I am today, I used to hang out. In a couple of places in New York City. And basically, I didn't go anyplace else but these two places because they were all I needed. One was the Loft, and the other was the Paradise Garage. And toward the end of the Paradise Garage's run, which was 1987, this extraordinarily exciting music took root so deep that I had been in the garage when there were 4,000 people who were screaming the lyrics of this particular song, the house music anthem. And I have to tell you, the man who put that together and has a new album called House Masters, which is actually available for streaming. I don't know whether it's right to call it an album, but I am certainly honored to welcome to our microphones Mr. Marshall Jefferson. How you doing, sir?
I'm all right. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you so much for being with us. I want to go back to the origins of this music. Talk, if you would, a bit about the late Ron Hardy.
Ron Hardy was like Larry Levan, man. He had the loudest sound system I've ever heard in my life, even louder than the garage.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, but it was a much smaller venue. So, the garage was technically louder, but when you were in the music box, it was louder than the garage.
Jeez.
When the bass kicked in, it kicked in. And Ron Hardy knew how to work that system. He would play a lot of my music. He would play like 15 songs of mine before they finally started coming out. And,
oh, really?
Yeah.
You got him to him early, huh?
Yeah. I at first I was just making the songs and handing them to him. And he didn't know who I was. He just liked the music and he started playing it. And that was a buzz. So yeah.
Wow.
But it was
now,
great DJ.
Oh yeah, fantastic DJ. Tell me a little bit about the origins of the house music anthem, which I mentioned to the audience, I think, just before you came on. I had been in the garage, which is, and we can talk a bit about how that music came from Chicago to New York. But I remember that crowd at the garage, 4,000 strong in many cases, would be screaming the lyrics, gotta have house. I mean, it was just like everybody knew the lyrics. How did you put it together?
Well, I wrote the lyrics on the spot. I was working a midnight shift at the post office, so I literally dreamed the song up. But now I had been writing songs in my head all this time, and a lot of times I forgot some straight up jams,
Mm-hmm.
But this one I remembered when I when I got all the way home. I remembered it, and I laid down the piano and the bass and the drums. And I just called my friends, Curtis McLean, Rudy Forbes, and Thomas Carr, and I said, "Hey, we got a cut." I got, and uh, by then we were seasoned studio veterans. We all worked at the post office. We all had good jobs, and we just recorded stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just routine for them. They and we went in the studio. We did it. I wrote the lyrics on the spot, and total session, total time of the session was about 1.5 to 2 hours recording and mixing.
The whole thing?
Yeah,
1.5 to 2 hours?
Yep.
Whoa. Now, I have
And
to tell you, I have in common with you working in the post office. I was there way before you. But I worked in the
are
post
you
office.
sure?
Yeah. I worked the graveyard shift in 71 and 72.
Yeah,
And
that was way before me.
see, but and it's weird because I worked that graveyard shift at what was called
Yeah,
GPO, which was the biggest post office in New York City. And eventually,
yeah.
I got tired of it, man. I couldn't, because I couldn't do anything. I wouldn't get off until 6:30 in the morning. I walked out of the post office one day and never went back. It's amazing. Maybe
I
they owe me money.
I worked the graveyard shift also midnight to 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we were on these ZMT machines.
I hated
Uh,
those.
yeah, we had to type in the code, the zip codes and the zones and all that, and we knew that, and everybody would fall asleep on the job because I was in my 20s at that time, and
Yeah.
I I didn't want the post office to end my life, so I went out partying too, and I left it just in time to get to work, and I would sleep on the job a lot.
Yeah, there was a
But
lot of that going around back then. How
yeah,
did your music get from Chicago to New York?
well, Frankie Knuckles was
Frankie was a very good friend of mine.
Frankie was a very good friend of Larry Levan too,
Yeah.
and Ron Hardy originally asked me for an exclusive of it. He don't give it to anybody else. But my friend Sleazy D had a copy of it. He was getting in the music box free. He wanted to get in Frankie's club, the power plant, free too. So he gave Frankie. So Frankie's best friend was Larry Levan in New York, and he gave Larry Levan a copy of it. And the next thing I know, I'm hearing about somebody named Alfredo in Ibiza playing it, and then the British DJs started
Jumped all over it.
playing it. Yeah, and I was talking with a guy named Jesse M from the UK. He had a radio station in London, LNR, and he started playing it. All this happened like months before it finally came out on record.
Yeah, yeah. I remember the sensation that song created. Now, is it true? Because I thought I heard you say this in an interview. Is it true that the piano vamp at the very beginning was inspired by Elton John?
Yeah. Well, yeah, man. Elton John in the '70s, man.
I know.
In the Jets, man. He was a black church piano player.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
and I told him that he got a kick out of, but like that's what it was, and I wanted to play piano like Elton John, and yeah, so. I mean, it
Incredible.
doesn't sound like any of his songs, but the inspiration was there.
Yeah, and it cut like a knife, that piano vamp. We have to take a break. Marshall Jefferson,
Okay.
the father of house, is our guest. I want to talk with you when we come back about the evolution of the music, because I'm in the UK, and it's become so dominant here and actually spawned so many subgenres. I want to talk to you about all of that and a heck of a lot more. This is the Tavis Smiley program. My name is Mark Riley. Forward after this.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward. Tavis Smiley's new book, The Covenant with Black America, 20 years later, is now on sale everywhere. This classic text shot to #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list almost 2 decades ago. If you have the original book, you will surely want to get this 20th anniversary edition with powerful new contributions from today's leading voices. This 20th anniversary edition presents a compelling blend of historical insights and contemporary urgency in this critical and unprecedented election year. Get your copy of The Covenant with Black America 20 years later today.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
October 2nd is California Clean Air Day. It's your chance to ride Metro for free. You'll be helping make the air cleaner and our roads less crowded. Let's clear the air together and make Los Angeles healthier. Check out metro.net for more info.
This is the story of the one. As a facility technician installing a new welding station, he knows getting the ventilation right is critical for safety. That's why when questions arise, there's Grainger. Grainger offers detailed technical product information online at his fingertips, so it's easy to find what he needs. Because when it comes to safety, having answers means he and his people can breathe a little easier. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick. And it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors.
Use as directed. Vapo Stick for use ages 4 and up. Vapo Shower Max, use for adults only. Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. J.D. Power ranks Sleep Number #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number Limited Edition smart bed. Limited time. For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
Made fresh daily in Leimert Park,
Los Angeles, California.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
This is the Tavis Smiley program. My name is Mark Riley, and I'm here with Marshall Jefferson. For those of you who don't know who Marshall is, he is the father of house. He was the one person that put out a song, the house music anthem, that just literally burned up the airwaves, not only in Chicago, but in New York, in the UK, and eventually around the world. Let me ask you, Marshall, there was, in 1979, that Disco Demolition Night, Steve Dahl did it. And a lot of people thought that that was the end of either disco or dance music, depending on how you talked about it. Did it have, and I remember Frankie doing an interview, and Frankie Knuckles, that is, doing an interview where he said he paid absolutely no attention to it. Did it have any impact at all on you?
No, not really, because I was into, I was into rock and roll at the time. Mm-hmm. And I would listen to Steve Dahl on the radio, and at the time, disco had gotten real corny. You'd see grandmothers dancing to it, and that disco, and it was just corny to me. I mean, the whole John Travolta thing and the Bee Gees, it just seemed corny to me at the time. That was the only disco I was exposed to. I wasn't exposed to black disco until I heard Ron Hardy and Frankie Knuckles. So that opened a whole new world to me, and that was uh, that was in the '80s that I was exposed to it.
Oh, okay.
And like I said, well, I that's when I started partying in the '80s. I just turned 21 in 1980, so my hormones woke up, and I found out clubs was a great place to meet the opposite sex, and that's when I got into dance music.
See, my first encounter, the first time I ever went to a club was in 1966. I was 15 years old, and my older brother took me to a place called the Cheetah on Broadway and 53rd Street in Manhattan. And it was a transformative experience for me. But my first, diving headlong into club life was at the Loft. That was in 1975. And David Mancuso ended up being a very close friend of mine. In fact, I spoke at his memorial. I co-emceed his memorial service after he passed away in 2016. And you have a situation, I think, for a lot of people that, again, the mainstream, as you mentioned, I remember there was a 12-inch disco version of the I Love Lucy theme. And I was about ready to say, hey, I'm going to listen to some jazz or something, because this was just, it was just too off the wall. But at a point, and David used to play some real, when I got to know him well, we used to sit on the dance floor at the Loft when he wasn't playing, and he would play all kinds. He would play the drummers of Burundi. He would play all of the Kodo drummers of Japan, all of this kind of music, which really opened me up to a lot of different types of music. So that by the time the anthem came along, by the time the house music anthem came along, I was ready for anything. My eyes and ears were completely open. But I wanted to ask you about something that I've heard kind of on a micro level. And that is that a lot of the artists who came to flower during that period, in the mid-1980s, really didn't get their just desserts financially. Were you one of them?
In the beginning, yeah, because we didn't have the record labels in Chicago. That's what I attributed to. There were like two choices, Trax or DJ International, and both of them didn't really know what they were doing. They weren't experienced. Making records was like a new thing for Chicago's dance scene, and nobody really knew how to cash in on it. That's what I attributed to. I later on became a lot more successful when I started doing business outside of the city. So,
Who was that? Trax record? Was that Larry Sherman?
Yeah, Trax Records was Larry Sherman.
Yeah. Heard a lot of stories about him back in New York as well. I also heard that another friend of mine, who I'm sure you know, Robert Owens, finally managed to cash in on some of his work fairly recently, no?
Yeah. I think everybody's going to wind up getting some, hopefully before they pass. But so we're all striving towards that point where we own our own music.
Okay. Now, when you say own your own music, you talking about like your own publishing, that sort of thing?
Publishing, I have. Right now, I'm trying to. Everybody's trying to get their masters.
Okay. Yeah. I've heard that can be a struggle, huh?
Yeah, it's a struggle when you don't challenge them. So you have to challenge them.
Absolutely. Marshall Jefferson is our guest. Marshall, I read in your bio you worked in Essex over here in the UK.
I didn't work there. I lived there for about 5 years.
Oh, okay. I thought you were playing music over here in Essex.
Well, once in a while, but I was playing all over. The reason for moving to Essex was it was a lot cheaper than London. I was paying like 3,500 a month to live in Chelsea, and then I
Oh
moved to
God.
Essex where it was 900 a month. You know, but the real purpose of that was I was afraid of flying, and I didn't feel like flying from Chicago. Uh, 20 hours a weekend in pure terror, Better to fly like from England where it's 2 or 3 hours of pure terror everywhere.
That's amazing. We have in common the post office, fear of flying, because I'm scared of flying myself. Close together birthdays. We got a lot in common, man.
Yeah, man. Well, fear of flying got all the DJ fees up. I mean, when they first started trying to book me, I don't want to go anywhere. We'll give you $1,000. I don't want to go anywhere. We'll give you $2,000. I don't want to jump on the plane. We'll give you $5,000. No. We give you 10,000. Where's my ticket?
That's a great negotiating tactic.
All of us were afraid of flying. Todd Terry,
really?
Farley. Yeah. All of us were afraid of flying. That's why the fees got high. If you remember in the 90s, Junior Vasquez had the first $1 million gig in Wembley Stadium.
Yeah.
And he set the precedent there.
Yeah. Now you got all kinds of people. You got Fatboy Slim here who gets more than that.
Well, Dead Mouse is getting $1 million a night in Vegas for residency. So yeah, it's getting getting very high. Somebody that's managed by the same management company as me, he gets $250,000 a gig, and he said he's going to cut down from 160 gigs a year to 100.
What?
God. Say, give me the 60, man.
Yeah, right. But I mean, it's amazing to me because David Morales is also an old friend of mine, and David spends a lot of his summers out in Ibiza and all of those exotic climbs, and he gets good money too. I don't know how much, but he gets really good money.
Yeah, he gets good money.
What is the key to longevity, as far as you're concerned, for playing music?
For playing music?
Yeah.
Enjoy what you're doing. I had planned on retiring. I actually posted on my social media that I was retiring January 1st, 2021. Yeah. But the pandemic happened and all my gigs got canceled and rescheduled for the next year. So 2021, I spent like playing all my canceled gigs. And as I was playing them, I was seeing the end coming, and I just got a better appreciation for what I was doing. And I haven't stopped since.
How do crowds affect you? I mean, you've played before really good-sized audiences. What do you get from the energy of the crowd?
It's transformative. It's no matter how sick I am, it's therapeutic. No matter how sick I am, once I get up there, it all goes away by the end of the set. I don't know if it's adrenaline or what, but yeah, since the very first time getting up there, it's a healing thing. All the positivity and stuff is real. It's a really good feeling. It's very hard to describe. But
yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. One thing I've noticed, and I'm not sure if it's true in the States, but certainly over here, in the old days, guys like Larry and Frankie, they would play like 8-hour sets, sometimes longer than that. Larry would play until early Sunday morning. Now we see kind of segmented DJing where somebody will play for like 3 hours and then somebody else plays for 2 hours and somebody else plays for 3 hours. Do you see that as a good thing or a bad thing?
I see that as a bad thing because, it used to be you have one resident and they would have their club, like Larry Levan had their club. Gail Sky King had her club, the Red Parrot, and even Baby J over at Roseland, I was very impressed by, T. Scott, Tony Humphreys,
Oh, I
Teddy
love T.
Rexford, and same thing in Chicago, you had Ron Hardy and Frankie Knuckles playing from midnight to noon. But
yeah,
I try to tell promoters all the time, you don't need guest DJs. Get your night, get one DJ that you really, really fond of, and give him the whole night. Your night will get a vibe, and everybody will relate to it. Everybody will freak out over it. Instead of the more expensive process of flying a DJ over from America, putting him up in a hotel, paying for his flights and all that stuff, and he comes in and he plays for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it's totally different from what normally plays there.
Yeah,
You know
I
what I
understand.
mean?
I
So-
know exactly what you mean.
So
But it's
that-
very prominent here. I mean, down here in Brighton, nobody plays, like an all-night gig anymore. As a matter of fact, there are fewer and fewer all-night gigs now.
Yeah. You want one DJ per night, and it's much cheaper than flying in somebody to play 2 hours.
That's for sure. Our guest is Marshall Jefferson, the father of house. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, talk about the future of this music, talk about the huge, huge impact of this music that he helped spawn. This is the Tavis Smiley program. My name is Mark Riley. Forward after this.
This is getting good.
Yeah, man.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Welcome to a Wednesday. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Sean Diddy Combs is expected to appeal a decision to keep him detained until his federal criminal trial. The African-American hip-hop and business mogul pleaded not guilty to sex trafficking and racketeering charges yesterday. Vice President Kamala Harris is spending lots of time in Philadelphia. Harris was in town yesterday for an interview with the National Association of Black Journalists. Her visit came on National Voter Registration Day and a week after her debate with former President Donald Trump. The Alabama NAACP is suing the state over the purging of voter rolls across the state. The organization is challenging state officials over its desire to kick out non-citizens and naturalized voters. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers pitching staff had another bad performance last night in Miami. The Marlins pounded the Dodgers 11-9. The Dodgers bullpen gave up 7 runs. The only good news for the Dodgers last night was San Diego's loss to Houston. The Dodgers still lead San Diego by 3.5 in the NL West. The LA Sparks lost to Phoenix 85-81 in their final home game of the WNBA NBA season. The loss assured the Sparks of having the most losses in a single season in WNBA history. The Sparks are 7-32 with 1 game remaining. 31 losses was the previous mark. The Sparks, who finished 5-15 at home, wrap up this dismal season Thursday at Minnesota. UCLA gymnast Jordan Childs has filed a request with the Supreme Court in Switzerland to overturn a ruling at the Paris Olympics that forced her to give up her bronze medal in the floor exercise to Anna Barbosa of Romania. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Are you interested in catching up on all the latest entertainment news, trending topics, and exciting interviews? I got you. Tune in to The Raw Report with Robin Ayers, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Ayers. Join me every weekday with some of the best entertainment contributors in the business as we break down what's going on, who's got next, and what not to miss. Only on The Raw Report with Robin Ayers.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. Helping to broaden your political and moral imagination with our 2024 Climate Justice Campaign. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Every day, a child in poverty waits for a sponsor is another day of hopelessness. There are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Just text the word radio to 83393.
Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. Sometimes we try to fit it all in. Sometimes we don't know what's in store. Sometimes we find what we're looking for. Sometimes we're rolling easy and free. Sometimes 1 and 1 makes 3. So much to love along this ride. That's why Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
My name is Mark Riley, sitting in for Tavis Smiley, who is enjoying a well-deserved week off. With us, house music legend, Mr. Marshall Jefferson. Marshall, this music has seeped into virtually every other genre you can think of. There's house samba, there's Afro house, there's all these different types of house music. Did you ever envision that it would go this far? And B, where do you think it's going to go next?
Well, I always envisioned it leaving the dance floor. I mean, or at the very least coexisting with the dance floor like rock did. You know, rock and roll, a lot of people don't know, started out as dance music. You know, when Bill Haley and the Comets and Elvis did it, it was dance music. And it died when they started going ballads. And then the Beatles brought it back to the dance floor and brought it back to life. So rock and roll started as dance music, and I envision that evolution for house music, but nobody's done it, and they won't allow me to do it.
Well, why won't they allow you to do it?
Well, things are so formatted now. You're locked into so many. You're locked into formats, and if you did something completely different, nobody would play it. At least that's what they tell me.
What about, would people dance to it at least? I mean, I've seen some people
would dance to it. People definitely dance to it. I have a couple of songs uh, that are not four on the floor, and you know, and the people dance to it. You know, it's different.
Yeah, definitely different. Now, do you see that? Because see, I hear over here, and we're both in the same United Kingdom, as a matter of fact.
Right.
I hear a lot of house music and certainly rhythms that are derived from house in popular music. There's a lot of pop music that uses house rhythms, so much so that I got tired of listening to pop there for a minute. Do you hear it?
Well, yeah, I hear it in a lot of stuff. You know, it's but the thing is, house never had the songwriting. You know, I mean, you have a full song here and there, but all the songwriters are in pop and R&B and all the popular music types.
Yeah, yeah, that's very true.
We
But
had to
house
be
got that
mixing.
rhythm, though.
Yeah.
You know, it definitely has that rhythm. Was there a kind of community among those early house makers, the Todd Terrys, yourself, and all these different? Did you all hang out together?
Well, all everybody in Chicago hung out, and I'm sure everybody in New York hung out. It, you know, we just weren't in the same city. I hung out with a lot of people from New York and New Jersey when I went out there. So, you know, that it was open arms when I came out there, basically. So,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Did Larry ever take you to the Pink Teacup after the garage closed? Just curious.
No, he did.
Oh wow,
Larry,
that was where a
Larry,
lot of people went.
no, Larry was kind of inaccessible when I played there. He had the DJ booth right next to the VIP area, but it was like a big lock on the DJ booth. He didn't want to be disturbed when he was playing.
Oh yeah,
I
no, that's
mean,
true. David DePino ran the booth for him back then.
yeah, I mean, I was in a VIP area with Eddie Murphy and Mike Tyson and well, Lisa Morgan and Ty Mack, and you know, none of them could get to see the DJ. And you know, you know, I don't care who you are, you're not getting back there to disturb Larry while he's playing. You know.
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny. I went to see Larry one time. He was mixing a record. I can't remember what it was now, but it was at Jimi Hendrix's studio, the Electric Lady Studio on 8th Street in Manhattan. And I walk into the studio, and Larry's there working, and there's a stack of styrofoam containers almost up to the ceiling. And I said to Larry, I said, "What are you doing, man? You're not going to be here that long." He said, "Listen, I just want to find out who's got the best fried chicken in Manhattan." So I bought all of this fried chicken. I'm telling you, man. So he gave all of us, because there was a group of us that went to see him, you know, see him work. And he gave all of us a container of fried chicken and told us we needed to rate the fried chicken. And I said, "Larry, you know, you're out of your mind, man. You're crazy." But that was him.
Yeah.
You know, that was definitely Larry. And that's what I mean. There were a lot of guys that, you know, hung out together.
Yeah.
And the Pink Teacup was one place because it served a really good, really cheap breakfast. So, you know, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, people would flock over there and sit around and talk music. That was another thing. People used to
Yeah.
talk music a lot. And then there was Vinyl Mania. I don't know if you ever went there, but that was
Yeah, I went to Vinyl Mania.
yeah, Charlie Grapone's place. I'm sorry, I don't want this to sound too
No.
inside baseball. You know what I'm saying? Um, but it's a lot of really great memories for me. And I got to ask you, speaking of memories, what was it like for you the first time you heard a piece of your music played on the radio, and what song was it?
Well, it was it wasn't on the radio, it was at the music box. Ron Hardy played it, and there was a song I did, one of the first songs I did is called I've Lost Control by Sleazy D.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened, I just dropped the tape off and left. I wasn't able to go back to the music box for like about 6 months because I was working the graveyard shift at the post office. And Sleazy told me that Ron Hardy was playing the song, and finally I got to go there. You know, by then Sleazy was very famous in the club. Everybody knew him, and I'd given him 15 more songs, and Ron Hardy played all of them that night. Right. So it was a buzz, but definitely a buzz.
Do you still get a thrill hearing your music?
I don't listen to the radio that much, so I guess I just hear it in the club when I play it.
Really? So, I don't listen to the radio that much either because I don't hear much that interests me anymore, but I thought that was just old age. I don't know. But if you hear it in the club, I don't go to clubs that much anymore. Once the garage closed, and I moved over here because I would stay. If I was in the States, I'd still go to the loft parties, which are now in their 54th year. And yeah, man. Yeah. And it's not as big as it used to be. It's only about 300 people, 350 people. But those parties still have that same crazy energy that David started out with back when I first met him. Oh. And yeah, it's extraordinary, Ron Hardy. Marshall Jefferson is our guest. We've been talking a little bit about Ron Hardy. What is, in your judgment, Marshall, the legacy of all this music? What do you think people are going to think of it a half century from now?
Well, it was music that people danced to. It was very accessible. Everybody could make it. For instance, when I first started in the 80s, there were like 500 dance records a week coming out.
Yeah.
And they told me 10 years ago, one of the online services said they were releasing 100,000 songs a week.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're talking about Spotify and them, they even put out more than that.
Yeah, well, this year I got told they were putting out 100,000 songs a day, not counting remixes. 100,000 a day.
Hold that thought for a second, because we got to take a break. We're going to come back, talk with you a bit more. This is the Tavis Smiley program. My name is Mark Riley. Forward in a flash.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
So you may have heard of Project 2025, a plan crafted by Trump and his MAGA loyalists to give Trump virtually unchecked political power and take Black America backwards. Here's how. Project 2025 strips away our voting rights protections, and it eliminates the Department of Education. It would siphon public school funding to private schools, leaving our kids behind. Planning on going to college? Good luck paying for it. Project 2025 cuts funding for federal student loans. Trump's Project 2025 would also make states monitor women's pregnancies, and it bans abortion. Project 2025 would also gut Obamacare, ripping away health care from millions. Simply put, Trump's Project 2025 would be devastating to Black America. But we can stop it by voting for Kamala Harris for president, because we are not going back.
I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for president.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? news.
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
I occasionally have nerve discomfort in my hands, so the things I love to do
Let's play something, Grandma.
became difficult as I got older.
If you have occasional stabbing and burning in your hands and feet, try Nervive Nerve Relief. Nervive's clinically studied dose of alpha-lipoic acid reduces occasional nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days with continued daily use. Say yes to healthy nerves with Nervive Nerve Relief.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in.
But we're okay with that.
You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
Well, I'm happy to be here with you because I'm somebody who absolutely never, ever fitted in properly. They told me I was nuts at one point when I was young, but that was a long time ago. Our guest is Marshall Jefferson, the father of house music. Marshall, I wanted to ask you about remixes because I've heard an awful lot of stuff lately, that remixes that go back to the early and mid 1980s. What do you think? Are most of them that you hear worthwhile?
Well, some of them are worthwhile, of course, but I think it killed the music and crowded the dance floor. Really, I mean, I told people at the time not to do remixes because they were getting us cheap. And now it's where, everybody disregards a remix. It's no purpose for it. And if somebody's starting out, I would just tell them, don't do remixes. Write your songs, and you write your songs and own your songs. Remixes, you get a fee. Well, you don't even get a fee anymore. You do it for exposure. But
you don't get a fee for it anymore?
No, man, there's too many songs coming out. People do free remixes and stuff, and they, try to get their names out there because like I said, it's 100,000 songs a day coming out. So people gotta, they have to make a name for themselves. And it's just a mess, man. But I would advise anybody just starting out, don't do any remixes. Write all your own music, own your own music, and you may come away with some money out of this thing.
What's the best way to own your own music, Marshall?
Copyright it and register it with a performance society like ASCAP or BMI, or if you're in another country, for instance, the UK does PRS. I believe Germany does GEMA, or but register with a performance society that'll collect your money worldwide. If anybody plays it anywhere on the radio, you get paid for it. So just register your music and write your music, because basically you're writing a song when you're remixing something anyway. You may as well, not remix something and write it yourself. So
yeah, I know what you're saying. I know, I understand. What do you think of the state of rock music? You said that you came up listening to rock, and I assume there was a lot of it that you really loved, as it was for me. I mean, Jimi Hendrix damn near changed my life. But what do you think of the current state of rock music?
It's not as mainstream as it once was, which is a good thing. But some of the kids copying the older rock artists don't get it. They go through the motions, but they don't understand it.
I get the sense sometimes that there's more attention paid to how people dress or their attitudes or how they jump around the stage, stuff that really isn't all that directly related to the music itself.
Well, that's because it's so crowded. There's so many songs coming out. People have to do something to make themselves stick out. But even the technique of drumming, drummers are, you know, they hit the drums a lot harder than they used to, and they lose their dynamics. For instance, uh, say some all the a lot of drummers try to imitate John Bonham, but John Bonham played soft
Mhm.
and loud, and that gave him dynamics. And when he went hard, they just play hard, like Bonham did. But that means there are no dynamics. They all play like as hard as they can, no soft stuff in, and they're missing all the in between notes, the soft stuff, the flams, that the older drummers used to do, and that it's not just the feeling, but technically they're lacking in a lot of areas.
It's really funny you said flam because I'm a lapsed drummer myself, but not as far as music, that kind of music. I marched in the drum and bugle corps for a very long time, and learned how to play rudimental drumming. And it is still part of my life. It's still always going to be in my heart. We got a heck of a lot in common, Marshall. You scaring me. When you said the word flam, I said, wait a minute.
Well, even guitar though,
Yeah. Hold that thought for 1 second. We're going to take a break. Right back with Marshall Jefferson.
Why does Tavis say, when we come forward?
Because he's not going back.
And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Every year, LAFLA provides free, high-quality legal services to more than 100,000 people living in poverty across greater Los Angeles. Their unique combination of neighborhood offices, self-help centers at courthouses, and domestic violence clinics puts Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles on the front lines in vulnerable communities and at the forefront of change. LAFLA's expert team of attorneys, paralegals, and support staff works to provide direct representation, offer counsel and advice, provide referrals, and educate the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars. With locations all over LA, you can access their services or volunteer to help no matter where you live. And if you have an urgent issue, call 213-235-0060. That's 213-235-0060. To get legal help, make a donation, or volunteer, visit LAFLA.org. LAFLA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
3 minutes before the hour, coming up after the hour, coming up in our final hour for this day, we're going to be talking with journalist extraordinaire Mr. Greg Palast about a really important film called Vigilantes, Inc. But right now, Marshall Jefferson is with us. Marshall, as we finish this conversation, do you ever envisage living permanently back in the States again?
Well, I go back and forth now, but the whole family is in the States, in New Jersey now.
Oh, in Jersey. What part?
Yeah. Long Branch. I go back and forth. I stay in the UK when I have a bunch of European gigs, and when I have a bunch of USA gigs, I stay in the States. So it's like 6 months each.
Wow, I got some cousins in Long Branch. It's a nice part of Jersey, as a matter of fact. And I lived for a time in Englewood, so it's I think sometimes Jersey gets short shrift, but there's a lot that came out, including a lot of hip hop people came out of Jersey, as a matter of fact. Finishing up, where do you want to be? Because you're not a kid anymore. I'm not a kid anymore. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Do you still want to be making music? Do you see an end date for your music?
I haven't really thought about it. I'm just doing what I'm doing now. As far as 5 years from now, let's check and see if I'm still alive, and then we'll talk.
You'll be alive. Don't worry about it. Marshall Jefferson, it's been a real honor talking with you for this past hour. Really enjoyed it, and we are going to hook up soon.
All right.
It's time to take a break. When we come back, or when we go forward, Greg Palast, journalist extraordinaire, is our guest for the final hour of the Tavis Smiley program.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Welcome to a Wednesday. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Sean Diddy Combs is expected to appeal a decision to keep him detained until his federal criminal trial. The African-American hip-hop and business mogul pleaded not guilty to sex trafficking and racketeering charges yesterday. Vice President Kamala Harris is spending lots of time in Philadelphia. Harris was in town yesterday for an interview with the National Association of Black Journalists. Her visit came on National Voter Registration Day and a week after her debate with former President Donald Trump. The Alabama NAACP is suing the state over the purging of voter rolls across the state. The organization is challenging state officials over its desire to kick out non-citizens and naturalized voters. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers pitching staff had another bad performance last night in Miami. The Marlins pounded the Dodgers 11-9. The Dodgers bullpen gave up 7 runs. The only good news for the Dodgers last night was San Diego's loss to Houston. The Dodgers still lead San Diego by 3.5 in the NL West. The LA Sparks lost to Phoenix 85-81 in their final home game of the WNBA season. The loss assured the Sparks of having the most losses in a single season in WNBA history. The Sparks are 7-32 with 1 game remaining. 31 losses was the previous mark. The Sparks, who finished 5-15 at home, wrap up this dismal season Thursday at Minnesota. UCLA gymnast Jordan Childs has filed a request with the Supreme Court in Switzerland to overturn a ruling at the Paris Olympics that forced her to give up her bronze medal in the floor exercise to Anna Barbosa of Romania. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Tavis is under attack. I can't get his radio station on my transistor. I'm getting the Asian station that he's right around, but they're not letting KBLA 1580 come in. I'm not getting the black man. So let Tavis know he's under attack. Cyber attack, racist attack, fascist attack, but he's under attack. And they doing something to disrupt his radio station so they won't get the truth out to us.
Hey, it's Tavis. We appreciate all that love, let me tell you, because we may very well be under attack on all sides. Just because you don't believe in conspiracy theories don't mean they ain't after you. But in reality, sometimes stuff happens with the signal from the studio to the tower, which sends our programming to your car, home, office, or your transistor radio. But when you download the KBLA 1580 app, the sound is clear as a bell. All day, all night, anywhere in the world, from Los Angeles to Lagos. So, we love all of our listeners, no matter how you hear us. But when you download the KBLA 1580 app and hear that richness, you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner. But don't take my word for it. Download the KBLA 1580 app right now. I'm Tavis Smiley, and I approve this message.
Four minutes past the hour. Final hour of the program for this Wednesday. And we are going to be hopefully talking fairly shortly with an investigative journalist, author, and all-around muckraker, a guy who I've spoken to on numerous occasions in the past, and a journalist who I see, and this is just my own opinion, as necessary to the American political process. His name is Greg Palast, and he is actually ended up talking to and writing for a host of important publications, including The Guardian, the BBC, Rolling Stone, New York Times bestsellers, including the one I know best of all, The Best Democracy Money Can Buy. So we hopefully will be talking to Greg ever so shortly, as he is going to be hopefully calling in. Now, I don't know about you, but I get a sense that Donald Trump's campaign can't help but shoot itself in the foot. We're talking now about a guy who, and it's not just him, his surrogates shoot themselves in the foot. You have Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who I never quite saw the use for, but she was at one time a really big deal. She was with Trump the other day, and she essentially said that Kamala Harris didn't have any natural children of her own, and it was kind of an offhanded slight, a slap at Kamala Harris. Now, if this is the best they can do, Trump might as well concede the election now. And you've seen him over the last 24, 48 hours saying things like, well, it's, the assassination attempts against me are the fault of the rhetoric of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, which, of course, is complete and utter nonsense. But, Trump will never be short of complete and utter nonsense. So it is a pleasure to welcome to our microphones. And before we bring him on, I want to take and share with you a clip from Vigilantes, Inc.
600 miles away, 2 days for an election, that if I want to vote, all I have to do is show up and prove as an American citizen that I have the right to vote again.
Is this an attempt to remove a lot of Democrats, black people from voting to win the election?
I am far from that, sir, and you have crossed the line.
And today to come out and not be able to vote and no one can give you an explanation, it's extremely emotional and it bothers me. It bothers me to my core.
There are times when people ask pertinent questions and they're accused of crossing the line, whatever the heck that means. Our next guest has crossed the line many, many times, and America is better for it each and every time he did it. A pleasure to welcome to our microphones author, journalist, and I'm talking about an investigative journalist of the first order, Mr. Greg Palast. Greg, how you doing?
Hey, Tavis, glad to be back with you again, but I'm also sorry to be back with you again because 20 years ago I was first on your show talking about the suppression of the black vote in Florida, and here we are 20 years later, we're still talking about suppression of the black vote. By the way, vote suppression is a very fancy word for shafting black people out of their vote.
Absolutely. By the way, it's not Tavis, it's Mark. We talked a long time ago on WLIB. You may remember that, I hope.
Mark, of course. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
so that's right. Same thing. For 20 years, you and I have been talking about suppression of the black vote. But here's what you just heard. I want to explain to people what they just heard. First, you heard the voice of a 70-year-old career military man, Major Gamaliel Turner. He is the Pentagon's expert on warfare of the future. And he came out of Fort Benning, Georgia, where he lives in Georgia. He was assigned to California, like thousands of soldiers, African Americans, out of Fort Benning. And the Republican Party chairman of his county challenged his right to vote. Now, he's not a government official. He's a party hack. But under Georgia law and the law in 43 other states, you can challenge someone else's right to vote. You as an individual. I can say, Mark doesn't live in Los Angeles, so he can't vote here, even if I have no information, and your ballot is blocked. But in Georgia,
really?
Yes, and people don't know this. This is a vigilante. It's vigilante vote challenges. And so what happened is the man you heard, Gamaliel Turner, he didn't get his ballot here in California. He didn't get his ballot because he calls up, "Where's my absentee ballot?" And the clerk said, "Mr. Turner, you have been challenged. We can't send you a ballot." He said, "What do you mean I've been challenged? What does that mean?" He said, "No problem. All you have to do is come into our office and show your citizenship, prove where you live, and no problem. Then we'll give you a ballot." He said, "So you're telling me 2,600 miles away that all I have to do 2 days before the election is come into your office and prove that I am an American citizen, that I'm a Georgian?" You know what? There's a part there. He says, "You talk to fools like that. You talk to fools like that. I'm not a fool." We got him on camera. So he says, "So you know what? This one vigilante, his name's Alton Russell. He actually dresses up like a vigilante. He dresses up as Doc Holliday. I'm not kidding you. We got him on camera. He was wearing cowboy. You'll see in the film in Vigilantes Inc., which is where that clip comes from. And I'm going to tell you about that film. He dresses like a vigilante with cowboy boots, cowboy hat, and most important, a 6-gun, a pearl-handled 6-gun on a holster, like Doc Holliday, his hero. And he made a big point that that gun was loaded.
We have to take a break, Greg, but we're going to come back and talk more about this, talk more about Vigilante Inc., because this is something that is truly, truly frightening, and we won't know how far and how fast they've gotten until Election Day. This is the Tavis Smiley program. My name is Mark Riley, sitting in for Tavis. We shall return.